This is the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 35. Who will separate us from the love of Mashiach? Will trouble or distress or persecution, famine or nakedness or dangers or sword? I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Almighty Yahweh Yahushai. I like to give all honor and glory to Almighty Yahweh Yahushai. Double honors to the men of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is Brother Boaz on the set once again. Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? Okay, we're headed in those times where you're going to have a strong sense of faith to make it out with your life when this thing goes down, okay? Because this devil's going to cut off the food, he's going to cut off the water, he's going to cut off the electricity and your lights, okay? And you're going to have a strong sense of faith when this thing goes down, okay? It's going to be a time like no other, okay? Let's get it. The book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 1. At that time, Michael, the great prince who watches over your people, will arise. There will be a time of distress unlike any other from that nation's beginning up until that time. But at that time, your own people, all those whose names are found written in the book, will escape. So it's only going to be like we discussed on multiple occasions. It's only going to be a remnant of people, okay? Because Yahweh is going to test you, okay? You will be tested. That's what this thing's about, okay? You will be going through your tribulations and your tests, okay? Who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach, okay? That's what this thing's about. Turn to the book of Jeremiah. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 7. At last, what a time of trouble it is. There has never been any like it. It is a time of trouble for the descendants of Jacob, but some of them will be rescued out of it. Yeah, I wish I didn't say all of them, okay? He only said some, okay? We already know two-thirds are slated for destruction, okay? So once again, if you want to make it out with your life, okay, you have to have the 100% doctrine, like we discussed, and we understand GMS. They have it. They crack the riddle, okay, and you have to have the right names, okay. That's what this thing's about, okay. And we will say this. That's what this thing's all about. Okay, one moment. Yahweh Shai is our down payment to make it out of here with our life. The book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13. And when you heard the sword, the word of truth, the gospel of your salvation, you were believed in Mashiach, you were marked with the seal of the promised Holy Spirit, who is the, what's I say, down payment of our inheritance until the redemption of power's own possessions to the praise of glory. Okay, so you are basically Yahweh Shai's our down payment to make it out of here, okay, with our life when this thing goes down. Without Yahweh Shai, we won't make it out with our life when this thing goes down, okay? So who shall separate us from the love of Mashiach? The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16. Therefore we do not despair. But even if our physical body is wearing away, our inner person is being renewed day by day. For our momentary light suffering is producing a far, for us, an eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison. Okay, so it's only a little momentary light suffering. Okay, you got to go through your tribulations and your suffering. Okay, we all are going through it. Okay, so you have to keep 10 toes down, keep calling on the names Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, so you can make out with your life when this thing goes down. The book of First Peter chapter 1 verse 5. Who by powers on are protected through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in this last time. This brings you great joy, although you may have to suffer due a short time in various trials. Such trials are show the proven character of your faith, which is much more valuable than gold. Gold is tested by fire, even though it is passed away, and will bring praise and glory and honor when Yahweh Shai Mashiach is revealed. You have not seen him, but you love him. You do not see him but now, but you believe in him. And you should rejoice in an indescribable and glorious joy, because you are obtaining the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Okay, so we're receiving the glory of our faith, okay, the salvation of our soul, okay, as we keep continuing, if you continue in the faith. The book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 21. And you were at one time strangers and enemies in your mind, as examples do your evil deeds. But he has reconciled you by his own physical body through death, to present you holy, without blemish and blameless before him. If indeed you remain in the faith, established and firm, without shifting from the hope of the gospel that you heard, the gospel that has been preached into all of creation under heaven, and I, Paul, has become his servant. Okay, so that's what this thing's about. Okay, if you continue in this in your faith, okay, with Yahweh Yahweh Shai, okay, you receive the gospel of your salvation. Turn to the book of Romans. The book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 36. As it is written, for your sake we encounter death all day long. We were considered as sheep to be slaughtered. Know in all these things we have conquered. We have complete victory through him who loved us. For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angel, nor heavenly rulers, nor things that are present, nor things to come, not powers, not height, not depth, or anything in creation will be able to separate us from the love of Mashiach, of power, and Yahweh, and Mashiach Yahweh Shai, our Lord. Okay, so you, once again, you have to have a strong bit of faith. Okay, that's what this thing's all about. Okay, you have to have a strong bit of faith. Okay, as we call upon Yahweh Yahweh Shai. The book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for, being convinced of what we do not see. For by if people are the receive the powers combination, by faith we understand that the worlds were set in order at power's command, so that the visible has its origin in invisible. Verse 6. Now without faith it is impossible to please him, for the one who approaches power must believe that he exists and that he rewards those that seek him. By faith, Noah, when he was warned about things not yet seen, he reverenced regarded construction and art for the deliverance of his family. Through faith, he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteous that comes by faith. So that's what this thing's about, okay? By faith, okay? Seeking Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. That's what this thing's about, okay? Seeking Almighty Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. The book of 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Dear friends, do not be astonished at the trial by fires occurred among you as something strange that were happening to you. But rejoice in the degree that ye have shared in the sufferings of Mashiach, so that when his glory is revealed, you may also rejoice and be glad. For if you are insulted for the name of Mashiach, you are blessed, because the Spirit of glory, who is the Spirit of power, rests on you. But let none of you, but let none of you suffer as a murderer or as a thief or a criminal or as a troublemaker. But if you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but glorify power that you bear such a name. For it is time for judgment to bring again, starting with the house of power. And if it starts with us, what shall be the fate of those who are disobedient to the gospel of power? And if the righteous are barely saved, what will become of the ungodly and the sinners? So what's going to happen? Okay, you heard me say this on numerous occasions. Okay, if we catching this much hell, catching this much tribulations, what's going to happen to those who don't believe in the gospel of power? For all for all the ones that died who don't believe will be destroyed. Okay, that's what this thing's about. For all those who don't believe will be destroyed. Let's read this verse 18 once again. And if the righteous are barely saved, what will become of the ungodly or the sinner? Okay. If the righteous are barely being saved, if we catching this much hell, what's going to be what's going to be of the wicked? Okay, let's get it. The book of Isaiah chapter 1 verse 28. All rebellious sinners will be shattered. Those who abandon Yahweh will perish. Okay, so they're going to be destroyed. And when this happens, you have to have 10 toes down. Don't let it shake you up. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 35. Do not be afraid of sudden disaster when destruction overtakes the wicked, for Yahweh will be a source of confidence. He will guard your foot for being caught into a trap, okay? The book of Second Ezra, chapter 15, verse 3. Fear not the imagination against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Okay, so all the unfaithful will die in their unfaithfulness. Okay, when this thing goes down. Second Ecclesiastes 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve power, prepare thy souls for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make no haste in time of trouble. Cling unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take it cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way upright, and trust in him. And hopefully you'll edify. I like to give all praises and glory and honor to Almighty Yahweh Yahushai. Shalom.